Hello and welcome to Trojans Live, presented by Monster Energy on ESPN LA 710 across the USC Trojans Media Network. I am Jordan Moore alongside Sean, Cody, and Keely. You're in the head coach, Lincoln Riley, talking about a great night at the Coliseum. USC knocking out Michigan. USC's head coach interview is presented by iTrust Capital, the official crypto platform of the USC Trojans. Coach, thank you as always for joining us. And I was listening to your some of your post-game remarks. Now, I was sort of thinking two things. One, Saturday night was a little bit of a culmination of the things that you've talked about with us and everybody for years, which is building up physically to take on a top Big Ten team, but also engaging the fan base enough that the crowd is electric and the Coliseum is electric. But also it's sort of the start of things, right? Because that's sort of what you want the standard to be for this program going forward. Yeah, for sure. I think in all ways, with the way the team competed and performed, like you said, the way that I think the Coliseum and our home crowd was a big factor in the game, like it should be in a big time home game. It's important. I mean, you look at like the statistics across college football through the years. I mean, the amount of wins that home teams have versus road teams is like it's more slanted in college football than virtually any other team sport. Yeah. And so it shows you, obviously, great teams got to go play great on the road, but your home field has to be an advantage, and you create that different ways. Obviously, the team coming out prepared with energy and playing well, but certainly, having that support and that atmosphere, making life difficult for the opponent is a real thing. And then, I mean, how fun was that? I mean, like for everybody involved, for our players, our team, for our fans. I mean, like when we're all engaged, when we're all passionate about it, when everybody's really invested in doing their part, man, it makes for memorable nights like that, and there's many more to come.
Yeah, that first third down for defense, I mean, that place was rocking on that one, Coach. Talk about the game plan a little bit. When it rolls out like that, when you come up with the game plan all week, and then you have you want the players to execute at a high level, and not everything's going to go perfect. There's going to be mishaps there, but the way it unfolded, the game plan just seemed like it was spot on and the players executed. When it's going like that, what's it feel like on the sideline when it's kind of executing at that high end?
Yeah, the guys, they did a good job with it. I mean, every week there's a plan, and there's always obviously an opponent in the way, and in this case there was a really good opponent in the way. And whether it starts like you want it to, which we had a good start. It had a chance to be a great start if we don't turn it over there in the red zone. But we had a really good start, and we were able to capture some momentum. And then I thought it was really important. We obviously grabbed momentum early. We got a chance to go up maybe 14-0 right there off the jump. We turn it over. They end up scoring a little bit later on. It's kind of tied. And then I thought, there at the end, a lot of people talk about the middle eight, right? The last couple of minutes, obviously, of the first half and the first few minutes of the second half, and how a lot of times that's an important part of the game. Our ability to, come back and take the lead, you hold them down to 7 points in the first half, and then come out the way that we did in the second half. That to me was as much as I love the start, I love the response after they got some momentum, and then we were able to grab it back.
You highlighted in the post-game press conference that this is one of the best weeks of preparation that the team had since you've been here at USC. I'm curious, from your perspective, what does that look like? What does that actually consist of?
Yeah, I just think the attention to detail, everybody being locked in. I thought our scout teams really did an outstanding job. That's one part of building this roster, as was mentioned earlier. Everybody sees maybe depth on the field, or if a player goes out, are you able to continue to produce? But then a lot of people don't think about that. That also, your scout teams are such a huge part of that, and if you have an injury and then a guy moves up, kind of to the varsity group, then does it dilute your scout teams where maybe you're not getting much, the type of competition or quality looks that you need to really prepare? So I think, the added depth on this roster, we're feeling that in practice too. And so those guys did a great job. And it was a dialed, focused, intense week. And you could sense all week that, we were going to be ready to play. You're listening to the head coach, Lincoln Riley, on Trojans Live. And we talked about how this was the first sort of rematch of USC against a traditional Big Ten school. And when I think about the game last year on the offensive side, it was a lot of pressure on the quarterback in that game. Jaden Mayava was fantastic in this game, but the pocket he threw out of seemed like it was clean. And that kind of has been a story all season. I mean, it's clearly not one guy because now you're shuffling guys around, but this group as a whole has really allowed him time to be at his best this season.
Yeah, they have. I mean, and we definitely did a much better job. I mean, I was god awful last year, and just I'm still mad about that one. Honestly, I'm not past that one.
We won on Saturday.
Yeah, we did. Thanks for the reminder. But yeah, I mean, I think the guys really executed, well up front against a challenging group, and again, to do it with, I mean, really, without three starters. Yep. I mean, against that defensive line, I thought was impressive. And listen, we had a couple of decent screen plays and all that, but we still had to block those guys. We'd still block them in the run game. We'd still block them in pass pro, and our guys did a good job. They competed hard. John Ray Reed did a great job at center. Tobias Raymond, I think, still continues to be, but the unsung hero of our offensive line and one of them of our team, being able to. I mean, he's now started games at 3 different spots this year, which is ridiculously hard to do. Lonnie Noah probably played one of his better games as a USC Trojan. He was awesome. So, yeah, I mean, that group deserves a lot of credit because it was a battle. I mean, it wasn't easy. It was a battle every single play, and you knew it was going to be against that group.
And just to drop a stat, you're 8th nationally in sacks allowed, so it's been we're halfway through the season. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, and not just in the pass game, tremendous in the run game. And you knew you were going to have to run the ball on Saturday against that group, and then guys injuries start happening, Coach. And and I saw Carson Tabarachi run out for a running back play. You had to get Brian Jackson back in there. What's that like when you don't know who the running back's going to be? And obviously King Miller has a huge game, but a little low on numbers, and you had to figure it out in the running back room.
Yeah, every now and again, you stuff like that happens that you can't always like spend practice time. All right, here's what we're gonna do if 5 guys get hurt. I mean, like it's you got to know your roster and be ready to think outside the box. There's things that happen that sometimes you just can't predict, and so yeah, I thought our guys mentally stayed into it, even with a couple of those guys going down. Obviously, King ran well. Brian came in and. Certainly did a great job considering the circumstances. And then I thought the offense as a whole just, we didn't panic. I was like, all right, next guy in and let's go play. Yep.
I love the energy on the sideline when Ryan Sayeri hit the second longest or tied for the second longest field goal. What was that like going into that decision and seeing him step up in that way?
Yeah, he's given us a lot of confidence, obviously the way he's performed in games and also he's done in practice. I mean, like honestly, he really didn't even hit that ball great for him, to be completely honest. I mean, it was a pretty average hit, but I mean, he's got a lot of confidence right now. That operation between, Hank and Sam and obviously Ryan, there's a lot of confidence there within the field goal team. So, yeah, I mean, that was a big play because I think we were like 3rd and 20, and we had a chance. There was kind of 2 big plays that a lot hinged on. We had the 3rd and 20. We were able to get it up in range, and Ryan knocks it through. And then on the flip side, they have a tremendous kicker. And so there was another scenario early on in the game where we got a sack that pushed them out of field goal range where the guys, been really, really good from that range. Had it just been like an incompletion. So, we were able to flip that into 6 points for us and nothing for them, which was huge.
We talked to King Miller in the postgame show. It seems like a kid who grew up here locally and just loved USC. We talk about the power of USC sometimes. This is we keep calling him a walk-on, and he is. He doesn't seem like a normal walk-on. It seems like a little bit of a power of USC thing where maybe he probably could have gone some other places, and he just really wanted to come here. Is that the situation? I kind of need more on how this walk-on is running away from a Michigan defense. This is not just some kid you brought in off the street, it doesn't seem.
No, he's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the first, him and his brother, Kalen, who's obviously a walk-on O-lineman for us. Neither one of them for long. But I and a couple other coaches saw them pretty quickly after I got the job here out recruiting and just kind of kept our eye on them. We liked them. We weren't at the point we were going to offer them, but just kind of kept an eye on them, and nothing shook through. And, yeah, we was able to work out for those guys to enter the program that way. But, no, they're great kids, come from a tremendous family. They're both really good players. They're both impacting our team already, obviously now, and they're both going to have the opportunity to do it more and more as time goes through. So, no, that was a total steal for us, to be completely honest. I mean, they are – in a place where sometimes getting great walk-ons here has its challenges. being able to get those guys in that come in and contribute and are going to become really, kind of pillars of your team, certainly in the future. I mean, it's a huge win for us.
You tipped us off. We have the clip from the August 25th show of you saying, hey, guys, just X Factor. Watch out for King Miller. He's leading us in yards per carry in fall camp. Well, his yards per carry is pretty good out there in the Big Ten as well. All right, we got another big one coming up. USC Notre Dame on Saturday, 4:30 out here in the Pacific time zone. Trojan Tailgate Show will go on at 2:30. Game is on NBC. Ready to take it to the next level? Unleash the beast this college tailgate season with Monster Energy. Tear into the can of the meanest energy drink on the planet. Monster Energy. Unleash the Beast. And Trojans Live is sponsored by Pechanga Resort Casino, a proud partner of USC football. Talk about the Irish and USC next on Trojans Live. Hey, Trojan fans. Did you know the Ralph's app gives you easy access to weekly sales and personalized coupons, and you can earn fuel points too? Check out the app today and save while you cheer us on to another great season. Ralph's, proud partner of USC Athletics and Stone IPA, has inspired a generation of brewers and beer lovers. Made in Southern California, Stone Brewing's first anniversary ale continues to be today's iconic West Coast style IPA. Crisp, light-bodied, and packed with hoppy flavor. Located at fine.stonebrewing.com. Jordan Moore, Sean Cody Keeley, you're the head coach, Lincoln Riley, getting you set now for USC versus Notre Dame. This used to be a very different kind of trip. Now it's logistically kind of like another Big Ten trip. We're flying out to the middle of the country, but it's not a Big Ten game. This is USC versus Notre Dame. What stands out to you, from this matchup, coming into this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're both – there's obviously some similarities when you have an opponent that, you've played here obviously for multiple years. And so, there's some similarities with us and some similarities with them. But also in this day and age, as your rosters evolve and, coaching changes happen and all of that, I mean, there's definitely some differences, I think, to both teams. So, no, they've got a good football team. They're definitely playing well offensively right now. Quarterback's doing a nice job. Different style of quarterback than obviously what they played with last year. But they've got a good group around them, a lot of really good skill around them. Defensively, doing a lot of really good things. I mean, I think it's they've been really stout against the run. Just continue to make plays in the back end like you normally see on tape coming into this game. So, and then they've got a couple of guys in the return game that have done a really good job. So, yeah, it's a good football team. I mean, it'll be two good teams going at it. It'll be a fun night, fun challenge, and I mean, obviously one that's we always look forward to.
Coach, I'm interested in the physicality piece of the football team on Saturday. You play an Illinois team, and you guys were able to run the ball successfully against them, but defensively looked like they were able to move you guys around a little bit. You get a bye week, and the approach has got to be physicality. And on Saturday, you basically wear down predominantly or one of the usual physical teams in this conference, and just body blow after body blow, and by the end of the game, you guys are kind of running wreck shop, and then defensively just slowing down their run game all day. What is that physical piece like? I mean, you as a coach, you can just tell, hey, we got to be more physical, but there's got to be something more to that ratcheted up physicality.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's physicality, but it's got to be in sync. Guys got to be playing, off of one another, and you could be really physical defeating a block, but if you don't defeat it the right way or with the right technique, it may create a gap, or if somebody's not fitting that gap, then a run pops out and you're actually physical, but there's a technique piece to it too. And again, doing it in sync and in harmony is a whole nother thing. So yeah, I thought, we did a good job the other night of, closing space in the run game. We did a nice job of tackling, especially at the second and third levels. And we just played more just good complementary defense where the front was complementing the back end and vice versa. And so, with that, there is going to be less space and, less opportunities to miss tackles. And then you kind of feel you feel the difference in that. And so it's kind of just the sum of all parts, I think, at the end of the day. So, yeah, I mean, you've got to, I think we took some good steps. I think we corrected some things in the bye week, and now we're going to get challenged again and in some different ways this week, and we've got to respond.
Bishop Fitzgerald now is tied for first in the country with interceptions. What has he added to the secondary this season?
Yeah, he's been steady for us. He has. He's made plays when they've come to him, and you got to give the kid a lot of credit. He just continually has kind of been in the right place at the right time. And when the opportunity to make plays has come up, he has made a high percentage of those. So he's got a good feel in coverages. He's got a good feel, I think, for how teams are trying to attack us with different calls and obviously how we want to counter that. So, yeah, I mean, he's been, a lot of the plays have come to him and he's made them. And, eventually some people are going to start, throwing the other direction, and our other guys are going to have some chances to make some of those as well.
Yeah, secondary play overall, much improved this week. And listen, this isn't pro sports for as much as things have changed. There's no trade deadline. You're not going out there and getting somebody to bolster an area, that where you have some needs. How is that group better on Saturday, and where do you want to see them keep building on that this weekend against Notre Dame?
Well, we didn't. We tackled the ball a whole lot better. I mean, we gave up the one big play in cover 2 where the corner didn't really do his job, hung the safety out a little bit. We still got to get the guy tackled. So, I mean, that was really the one thing that kind of stood out. Other than that, I mean, we were tight in coverage. We didn't bust coverages. We leveraged the ball correctly. We tackled. And then obviously, the front playing a more impactful game and getting pressure obviously makes that job easier as well. So, no, but I thought, an improved effort by the secondary, the communication, the ball leverage, the tackling, the physicality of that group was much improved.
Coach, if I'm a recruit on Saturday and I'm sitting in the Coliseum watching USC and they're recruiting me, it might be tough for me to not decide on the dotted line that day. What was the response from the recruits that were in the house? I mean, I'm sure you got to talk to them a little bit after a game like that. The way you guys played, the setting. I mean, it all kind of aligned on Saturday.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. We had a great group there. A lot of guys that have already committed and decided to be USC Trojans, and then plenty more that'll have that opportunity, here in the future. And so, yeah, it was cool to see all those guys together experiencing that. And I think those guys talking about, seeing kind of what it is now and thinking more about what it can be and their opportunities when they get here. So I think there was definitely a buzz and excitement. We had breakfast with a lot of those guys Sunday morning over on campus, and those guys were just, you could still feel the energy. So, yeah, I mean, that's an atmosphere like that in the Coliseum is pretty tough to beat.
I know this is somewhat silly, but I've always been curious about the logistics of the game balls. Like, when do you decide it? How many game balls do you have? Like, what goes into that?
Yeah, we've got a staff member that kind of knows, that knows kind of what we look for.
Okay.
And that so through the game makes me a few different notes. And then once we've won the game or game in hand, I'll grab that card from them, and it kind of resets me a little bit on, all right, here's some of the guys that did some outstanding things. Sometimes it's things that everybody sees, a great play or, a big play and a big moment. And then sometimes a lot of times it's unsung things that maybe a fan, a casual fan might not see, but it was something that really was important to us winning. So, yeah, it's a fun tradition for us to honor some of our different guys, and it's always a fun time in the locker room.
The Mackay TD, settle a debate for me. Better throw or better catch?
Ooh. Yeah, pretty good on both. But,
yeah.
I mean, elite throw, probably better catch.
Yeah, I was right in front of it. I could not believe he came down and held on to the ball. I was not surprised he grabbed it, but to hold on to it on impact, incredible. Well, great performance by the Trojans. Another one due up on Saturday. USC versus Notre Dame, another game that doesn't really need an introduction, but we'll still give you 2 hours of pregame coverage starting at 2:30 with the Trojan Tailgate Show. Thanks so much for Coach, the USC football GM, Chad Bowden. He's next on Trojans Live.